Hi everybody. So today I wanted to speak about how I got to learn English. Well, I speak a little bit the American way and a little bit the Indian way. I understand that. But I mainly learned British English in India, and in US had to adapt and try to learn the American style of, how we have a lot of slangs and stuff like that here, and try to understand people and hoping that people understand me now. So I had to adapt and learn a little bit the American way also to fit in. I will speak about my journey, how and why I had to do all that, like adapt and keep learning and stuff like that. But I wanted to start about from start how I got to learn English to begin with, because I did learn English in India. We have British English in India. And I went to Jyoti Vidyalaya school, and that was the section, like the preschool kind of thing. And then there was a section where in Jyoti Vidyalaya we learned lots more other stuff, and then we were moved to another for high school and all that, to Mary Immaculate Girls High School. And we did the high school and finished getting to college then from there on, after completing at Mary Immaculate Girls High School. Well, anyway, so from there on, then came to US, did work and stuff like that. Then for a while I moved back to India, and I also was teaching over there in a school. It was it was an English medium school, teaching kids at different levels. But mainly I got in because I was interviewed, and they allowed me to start as a substitute teacher first, and then they went ahead and hired me on for first grade. My sister used to teach there also, so that became a little bit easier for me to get an interview call, at least, because she mentioned that my sister has lived in US and she does speak English also, so would you be willing to at least give her an interview? So they did call me, and went through the interview and all, and they hired me. Well, anyway, so that was an amazing experience where the kids were like hooked to wanting to learn from me, and they would actually follow both of our sisters home after that. Anyway, so from there, then I moved to India once more again. For 3 years I lived there, and the neighborhood kids would come and want to learn English. Their moms would say, well, go to Mamta auntie's house, go and sit and study there, she'll help you guys. Even though there were kids who were even having tuition teachers, they would still come to my place to study, and their parents would like push them to go study at my place. So then in the middle of all this, I was actually doing my own job search, and I was like, how can I handle this and this while I'm trying to figure out finding a job for myself? And there was lots more other things going on, where my uncle had gotten sick and all that. Anyway, but the experience of starting to teach back in India for the 3 years of the span when I moved to India was a girl named Raju had come to me saying that my mommy said, you lived in America, so you should be knowing English, and why don't you please teach me? Help me out since I'm not doing that well in school. She told me her story, and I kind of felt really bad for her, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and try to help her out, at least to push her enough to go ahead and that she would be able to go to college at least. She would at least finish her high school and graduate, be able to graduate and go to college. Anyway, so that was, and I never expected any money or nothing. She would come, and at initial stage, she would sit and talk about what, in the midst of studying, and while I'm trying to find a job, I had told her right from the get-go, I am here in India, I'm going to find a job, and I want to try to get stable here now. So you need to, if you are coming to my place, you need to really study. Somehow her in her mind, the way how she was thinking is, and maybe she didn't even believe that she could pass. So, she was not that like positive about it. Anyway, so I had to have a little chat with her 2-3 times and put it through her head. And then after that, I went ahead and spoke to her mom and dad. I went to her mom and dad and said, if you are sending your daughter to my place, I expect her to study. She cannot come and talk about boys or the mall, perfume, her girlfriends, what they did, or which movie, what movie she saw or whatever, none of that. So, and she has to religiously study. If not, she won't be allowed to come to my place any longer. So, anymore. So her mom and dad, I don't know if they had a chat with her or what, or she kind of understood that I was serious about this, that if I'm letting her come to my place, she's got to study. It's that simple. But anyway, so she just started, I don't know what happened to her, but it was like a miracle. Like, she was so focused after that. She started believing in herself, and she was like really putting, she was actually applying herself in whatever she needs to do. And that it came to that point that I just had so much more confidence that, okay, well, now I don't have to worry that much. I know she's got this. Now it's just giving the exam and seeing if what the results would come. Meanwhile, while finishing with her the end of the exam, while I go ahead and go with finishing with the exam part, while she's giving her exams, my uncle gets sick, and I had to rush over there to go be by his, at the hospital, by his bedside, as he was a bachelor and he needed somebody. Anyway, that's another long story. I'll tell you guys, I promise I'll tell you guys my uncle's story some other time in another video. That is a juicy, interesting story also. Anyway, so what happens here when it comes to Rajul is that she did apply. The wonderful thing about her was she was really focused and willing. Eventually her and her family was willing to focus. That really, really made a huge difference in her results. I think getting through it's called the board exam or SSC exams in India. Like how, when we graduate, like how we graduate here from high school and then we go to college, the same way those board exams are called SSC exams. They're considered to be very scary, very, they're supposed to be considered very scary to pass, that if you pass through that, then you'll eventually head on towards you'll pass and go to college. If not, they have to redo the whole thing over and all. Anyway, so, and I didn't want her to, and if not, she was told by the school or something that she will have to look for another school if she did not pass graduating and going to college. If not, then she would have to, if she failed anymore or whatever, if she didn't do well, she would be removed from the school and she would have to try to find another school. And I just didn't want her to go through that, because I can understand that's so much traumatizing for a kid to be felt that she has to leave her friends behind and have to move to another school and make new friends, new teachers, new principal, new environment, and the whole thing, plus passing the exam, plus passing the board exams. Especially, she was very bubbly and cheerful and very lively and all that, very colorful and into a lot of different fun things. And that's fine, I'm not judging fun things. But so anyway, so finally she did focus. She passed. While I was trying to attend to my, the uncle who had fallen down, who had an accident, I was trying to help him out. While I come back, her mother, Rajul's mom, comes with a bowl full of jamuns, these fruits. They are little purple fruits. They're considered very good they're good in general for everybody, but they're considered really good for people who are diabetics. Anyway, so they're and yummy, nice and ripe and juicy, and they're very, you get purple tongue eating those. Anyway, so to come to the story, her mother came with a bowl full of jamuns for me, and I was really surprised that, she said, well, Mamta Bin, we don't have money, but we just want to say thank you for putting all the effort you did, because she and I used to study till 5 a.m., she was trying to stay up 99% of the time, and she really tried. But so the thing, what I was thinking is, and that was very kind of her mother, because I didn't really expect anything. I just wanted to get through to college, so she doesn't have to repeat anything and doesn't have to go through a lot of changes. Just want to pass and get through. Anyway, so she did get through, and her mother brought me a thank you of bowl full of fruits. The jamun fruit from their tree. She said, I have a tree in front of my house, and we own this tree, and this is something I wanted to give you as a token of thank you for. So then I thought, well, and then her father, Rajul's father, kept insisting to not move back to America. If you don't feel like you found a job right away yet, why don't you go ahead and stay here? Let us put a board out near the station, and then right in our neighborhood where we lived, and we'll put a board out, and lots of students would love to come and study, at your place. And then once things get, once you expand, you could get a place of your own and have a actual, like a tutoring place. Start, helping them with their homework and help them with their, get through their exams and all that. And Rajal started, in the midst of all this, Rajal started bringing while she was coming in the daytime, she started bringing other kids from around the neighborhood, starting from like first grade to college level, teaching economics and stuff. And I tried to help, and with math and whatever they had going on, everybody was sitting right there in my small little dingy, it was like a, very small place. Basically it was just a room with kitchen and a bathroom. It was that tiny little place, but everybody would just line up and sit down and study. And that was like, I don't know, it was like a very warming feeling in my, when it comes to how I felt. I think it was like amazing, and made me think that maybe I should go into teaching and help people out, especially people who need confidence and stuff, to have conversation or crack their interviews, job interviews and stuff like that, basically. And she still stays in touch with me. Rajul and I we stay in touch with each other talking wise, and we text each other. And I feel like she really needs help even now, because she keeps texting me once in a while on how to, form a sentence, or if she needs to convey something to somebody. Mamta auntie, can you please text me how it needs to, sound proper? What do I need to write to make it sound, proper English-wise, like a sentence-wise? And I feel like it's not a big deal, it's very simple, but I understand from her, since she went to a vernacular, she went to a Gujarati medium school or maybe English medium school, but did not get the proper base, which I got at Jyoti Vidyalaya school and at Mary Immaculate. We got a lot of, and plus our dad, he had a wonderful English, so we got that in our house. And even inside, within our house also, we most of the times as brothers and sisters, we would speak in English, or if we spoke in Gujarati or Hindi or Marathi, we would come back to English also from time to time. So it was more like an everything, but we did get chance to speak in English when we want, at home also at times, mainly because of our father. He, and my mother. Getting into English medium school was because of my mom, and to give her complete credit to mom for that. My grandma, my dad's mom, which is called Dadi Ma in our Indian culture. My Dadi Ma was wanting us to learn Gujarati, and she put us all 4 kids in Gujarati medium school. My mom resisted all that, and she took us out of the Gujarati medium school, and she put us in an English medium school, because she knew what all she had endured when she, was going to high school and college. And when she came in college, it was very difficult for her to manage, because most of the things which are taught were taught in English. So she was having a lot of hard time. So thank God for that. My mom, thank God she spoke up, and she defended us, and she did something amazing for all 4 of us brothers and sisters. If not, we might have had much more harder time in life, like many other many other people go through, students and employees go through. Later on, when I did stay in India, like I mentioned to you all about the 3 years I spent in India, I went ahead and started applying for jobs at different English-speaking schools. And out of that, 2 of them wanted to hire me, but one of their hours was like extreme hours for me, what I wanted to put in. The second place was fine. It's just things just didn't pan out because they were still starting off, and the money they wanted to pay was not decent at all, like not even. So and I needed something where I could survive, sustain, on my 2 feet without having to depend on other people, because soon I was going to run out of all the savings I had saved up to be able to do the transition, and that money was about to run out. But anyway, so I had to quickly make a decision, either stay in India or leave. But meanwhile, when I did get hired by this center, it was an English speaking center, school or center, whatever you call it, training center. So younger kids were coming there for sure, and I was teaching them in a full class. But then there were other people who were like engineers and IT people, and grown-ups, adults who really needed help. Like even the women who were working outside, men who were boys or younger or older men who needed help, or even these IT or engineer guys who needed help. They were young people in their 20s or 30s, whatever. So, well, anyway, so I got hired by some of these people one-on-one, but through the center. So the center gets half the money and I get half the money. Anyway, so out of that, one of the fellow had kept a steady learning thing, and we just stopped right before I had to come back here, because I chose to move back to US, as I wanted things to happen really fast, and they won't. So I just gave up and moved back to US. Anyway, so that student, he also would tell me all the time, he's like, Mamta, I wish you could just stay here, because it helps me, communicate and get better, because I've already told when I was hired at my job, they hired me on the terms that I knew English, those were the conditions. So that's why I signed up for these training classes. I said, well, the school will still have some other teachers there for you. And they did have some other teachers also. But he was like really looking forward to studying, with me, since I was looking for work also. But anyway, so that made me really, because he really said to me that, you really need to continue this, teaching English thing, because it'll help a lot of people. And it kept ringing in my head that all these people are saying it's helping them, it's beneficial to them. So I kept thinking to myself, will people want to learn from me? So I thought, now I'm thinking more so that I think I should start teaching back again, maybe even do YouTube live, and teach kids, and even help them if they need help with homework, or if they need just talking and getting used to speaking conversation wise. And even for grown-ups, I'm thinking to do a live session for grown-ups where they can speak one-on-one with me. I don't know how I will make this all happen, but either via YouTube or Zoom or something. And I would like to do it like worldwide, so anywhere people in this world can call me and communicate. And I want people to know how to speak English properly, how to crack their interviews, be more confident, and feel comfortable speaking English. It's not scary at all. You just have to practice a lot more. Read magazines, watch TV if you have to, listen to the news. My father used to expect us to do so many different things to get better. Even then I faced a lot of, that's another thing, I wanted to make another video about what kind of problems I faced in US. Even though I had learned British English in India, and coming and speaking here at our job, when you work outside, I had never worked in an outside. I had worked in my dad's office, but I never worked worked at a job outside my dad's office before. So that my first experience of working in America, I will try to do a video on that, what my experience was here at my first job when I came to US, and how I tried to manage to keep it, and how speaking English here, there and here was so very different. Understanding each other, like people here in the US people were having a hard time understanding me, and I was understanding them, but things were a little different here, and some of the slangs I wouldn't understand. But anyway, yeah, we'll talk about the slangs and all that. I'll do a separate video about that someday. but yeah, I will definitely let you guys know about my experiences here, and as some of the experiences about India also I would like to speak someday, but in bits and pieces I will share as much about myself as much I can. Anyway, so this is the so I am thinking about doing the live thing, or maybe via Zoom, or I don't know what all other options I have, or but I think I should start because it will help people and get better. Because that is very sad when people can't, have a hard time. They're scared, don't feel confident. Confident. Then when you go for interviews, obviously they're going to pick somebody who knows English or speaks English better than you do. Comprehends English better than you do, etc. All of that. So anyway, so yeah, I would like to do that. Any people from anywhere from the world, I would love to, they name it, India, obviously India, Pakistan, Japan, China, England, wherever there are people who would like to learn English, have English conversation and practice, even just polish their English, or speak English and have a conversation with me. I think I should go ahead and do the live thing. Plus, I think I want to do a separate section to teach students, younger kids, feel more confident from anywhere in the world, doesn't matter, from anywhere. Okay, well, that's all I wanted to share, that I'm hoping and praying somehow I could make this happen, where I could have conversation with people and help them get better at English. So I'm thinking about doing YouTube live or some other way live. I'm not sure what all platforms I have to do, a live conversation, so people get a hang of how English is to be spoken and feel more confident to achieve whatever they need to in life. It could be relationships, there might be a guy who wants to learn English to impress, maybe he wants to impress his girlfriend or impress his boss, whatever it is, or their own parents, maybe the parents are afraid that, well, we want our kids to be better than us, like my mom did, and thank you, Mommy, for putting us all 4 kids in English medium school. And well, a small little story I wanted to mention about, maybe I should make a separate video about it, but since I brought it up, I'll go ahead and mention it to you guys. It was a very sad thing where I saw that the span I was in India, I did not think that, but I don't know why I thought that way, but anyway, I saw a family who, the kids were coming to my place to study, and Rajul used to bring all these people all the time. In the midst of all that, there was one family. They were struggling family. I knew that what their mom and dad were doing, financially to survive, and they had a small little shop every day. They're selling some things, batata vada, pani puri, sandwiches, these kind of things. So I understand they weren't well to do, but when I found out their education levels, and the son was being sent to the English medium school, the daughters were not being, they were sent to Marathi medium school, and that just drove me crazy just thinking about it. I was like, why would you do that? I was like so mad at the mother. Why would you do that? I went ahead and spoke to the mother when I found out that she puts her son in English medium school and daughters in Marathi medium school, and I said, why would you do that? And she's like, well, the son is always going to be with us, the daughters are not. That's somebody else's problem. So I was just like, really, it just, I don't know how to put it in words, but that just, just broke me, that just the thought of that, and she was a female saying that, she was a mother, she was a lady, she was a female saying that for women, that just drove me crazy, just thinking, how can a female say like that what good is it going to be to, for us to give our daughters English education? So that was kind of, just it was heartbreaking for me. And, when it comes to that, I really appreciate, in those days growing up, when we were forced to learn algebra and this and that and geography and history and all that. And I know, every chance my parents got, they tried so hard to put us through, school, even they gave us tuitions whenever we needed some tuitions. Like for me, my mom and dad, they like, for me, I was taking math, algebra, Hindi Marathi also. And at home they would teach us Gujarati, because my uncles, maternal uncles, and my kakas, that means my dad's brothers and grandmas, would say that, well, it's a good idea for your kids, to my mom and dad, that your kids need to learn our mother tongue also. So we learn Gujarati at home, to read and write. Although I'm not very, fluent in speaking Gujarati properly, and I can't read or write Gujarati really well. Although I speak Gujarati okay, where I do, I am able to convey my point, and people get me too. I think, they get me also. But it was just very disturbing that, people were so like nonchalant. The mother was so nonchalant about it, like, oh no, I don't want to get my son, no, I don't want to get my daughter's having English education. It doesn't matter. They're not going to stay with me, that's somebody else's problem. But the son is always going to be with me, and he might bring money with that English we invest in teaching him English. He is going to be bringing in money at home towards us, to where we live all together, so that was kind of, heartbreaking. But so that was that. And our parents, my mom and dad, they made sure, even on their days off, whenever my father hardly got a day off, he would work. My dad worked from Monday to Saturday afternoon till 1:30, 2 o'clock, sometimes 3 or 4, p.m. And so the only time my dad had with us was from 4 p.m. on Saturday to Sunday night, actually. And even in that, my father, and mother both would try their best to, as much as time they could put in, they would try to make sure they would sit down with us and study, help us get, how do you say, help us do our homework if we are behind on a subject. They would spend time with us, and they would try to explain all, it could be history, geography, whatever, math, spellings, timetables, everything they tried to help us with, trying to give us that boost, which we really, and the the base. So I think that is very important, especially in places like India, like our country. We really need to, first of all, make it equal for girls and boys to learn, English. It's going to be necessary wherever they go, even for the girls. So you're preparing them for the world at the same that is very important. First of all, to treat them equal. Please teach English to girls also, not just to the boys. It's not fair. It's not fair. Then don't have kids to begin with. Don't. We are okay with you not bringing us on this earth, but don't treat them different just because now you can't afford. It's not fair to other girls. Anyway, so that's my, how I'm at peace saying that please, if you are having a kid, and make sure you teach, girl and boy, your daughter and the son, same education. It's not fair. And the other thing is, put some efforts, just don't say, oh, go to school and study. Spend time with them, help them, guide them. And if they have subjects which they need help with, take them for tuitions, or do something about it. Let the teachers know in school. I remember my mom used to come and speak to our teachers all the time, especially for me, not for my twin sister. My twin sister was much ahead. She was a distinction student. But for myself, she came all, just for me, she came all the time. Then finally, when I came to US and I joined college here also, and that's when I got a hang of it. Like, oh, I couldn't believe my mom worked so hard to, give me this education. And now I understand, especially because I'm paying with my own money for all these classes to do these classes. Now I really understand the value, and I appreciate my mom and dad. And my dad had to pay all these fees growing up in high school and college. But basically, what the point I'm trying to make to everybody is, please, give education to girls also, not just to the boys. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not their fault. You chose to have a daughter, so it's not fair. If you are going to give education to a boy, you got to give education to a girl also, and same kind. No compromising on that. If you give a boy English medium education, girl gets English school education also, period. Or don't have kids. It's not fair to treat people like that, because then there's a chain of circle, there's a chain you are creating, where the girl is forced to live a substandard life all her life. It's not fair. Anyway, all the best to everybody. Bye. Thank you for listening to what I had to say. Okay, bye. But I am thinking about doing live English speaking, and also teaching, if there are students who want to learn, I am thinking about starting that. Okay, bye to everybody. Bye.